Welcome to my channel Buzz. The basket of all time. Wow, if I claimed that this didn't concern me, I would be lying. Kobe Bryant, 5-time world champion, Steve, the last game, the final dance. No one is ever fully prepared for the moment that every NBA legend knows is approaching. They have fought, suffered, and established their legacies for years. And it all comes down to one final night on the court. For some, the last game doesn't feel genuine until it's gone, while others silently fade into the background. When a player takes the court for the final time, what thoughts go through their head? Who better to respond to that question than the legends themselves, Mamba? What do they remember most about the game that impacted their lives, and how do they deal with the emotions of bidding goodbye to it? And Kobe Bryant is here to get us started. The Lakers' 2015-16 season was a complete bust, despite being statistically the worst in the team's history. Nobody in Los Angeles gave a damn because the season wasn't about wins and losses. It was about bidding the Black Mamba farewell. Kobe Bryant was taking the court for the final time after 20 years, 5 titles, and many memorable moments, and in typical Kobe manner, he wasn't leaving quietly. In front of a crowded Staples Center on April 13, 2016, Kobe gave a performance that only he could muster, scoring 60 points in his final game against the Utah Jazz. Former Lakers head coach Byron Scott understood the significance of that night, so I told him, "Coach, the floor is yours. I have no regrets whatsoever because I left everything I had in my body on that floor," he added, adding that all he wanted these guys to understand was that he left everything. Yes, and that relates to what you said about the man having a will, and never wanting to look back and say, "Man, I wish I had played a little harder if I had done this. I left everything on that floor." And as I stood there thinking, yes, he did. I will never forget that for the rest of my life. Yes, and the Lakers weren't the only team engrossed in the moment. Gordon Hayward, who played for Utah that game, described it as if it were from a movie, saying the entire arena seemed to exist just for Kobe that night. The last 30 minutes from 14, Brian has 53 proceed. You simply say, "All right, he's feeling it now, I mean." Then as the final buzzer rang, Kobe seized the mic one last time and bid the world farewell in a way that only he could. I can't believe it's over because this has been so incredibly gorgeous, you guys. There are no words to express how much I appreciate you all, and you guys will always have a place in my heart. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, God. I love you all, and I love you guys and my family. From the bottom of my heart, thank you to my wife Vanessa, our daughters Natalia and Gianna, and all of your sacrifices. I can't express how much I appreciate you holding down the family the way you have, and I can't thank you enough for all the hours I spent working out and training in the gym. And what can I say, Mamba out? And with that, the curtain closed on one of the greatest careers the game has ever seen. But unlike Kobe, Dwayne Wade didn't need a 60-point explosion to make his farewell game memorable. Wade had already established a legacy that would solidify him as the greatest player in Heat history with 3 championships, and his mere presence was enough to move Miami fans. Franchise leader in points, assists, steals, and minutes played, with 13 All-Star selections, and he gave Miami a final performance in his farewell home game. Wade scored 30 points against the Sixers, demonstrating that he was still that player. In his final NBA games, he has 30 points. Wade, however, wasn't going to allow his feelings control him in spite of the excitement. During the post-game interview, he acknowledged your opinions. "Sir, well, my mind is scattered everywhere. Jax, I recall the numb feeling I get when my agent informed me he was going to pick me up at 5 o'clock at the table in New York in 2003. That feeling is comparable to how I feel right now. However, I heard the applause and the affection from the very first discussion I had back at this stadium that day, and I was grateful for it. Now, man, I am even more grateful. I am sitting here as the most grateful person in this state because that was tragic. Let's give it another go. This is how we should do it." Okay. His number 3 jersey was officially retired in 2020 and will always hang in the rafters alongside the greatest legends of the Heat. It's as easy as this. Wade County, I love you. Dwayne Wade departed as one of the best players in history, not simply as a Miami Heat legend, Tim Duncan never desired the limelight. He was there to win, not to receive a farewell tour, standing ovations, or heartfelt speeches. That's why no one knew, no announcements, no clues, that the 2015-16 season, one of the greatest in San Antonio Spurs history, would be his final one. Even his own teammates were unaware that the sixth game of the Western Conference playoffs would mark Duncan's final NBA appearance. Yet he still gave his best postseason performance, scoring 19 points on 50% shooting and pulling down 5 rebounds. That may not seem like much, but given that he was 39 and had only been scoring 6 points a game during that playoff run, it made a statement. However, was it a final performance that Ibaka stopped for Duncan? Westbrook picked him up and drove him to Durant in the finish. Tim Duncan never played for moments, so probably not. He competed to win, and when the Spurs were in danger of losing, he wasn't going down without a fight. There was no farewell game or lavish celebration. One final battle before silently leaving the court for good. Paul Pierce was never one for quiet exits, even if it was for the last time in his long career. There had been many dramatic moments throughout his career, and his final game in Boston was no exception. Pierce could have simply waved to the Boston audience and perhaps knelt down to give Lucky the Leprechaun a final kiss at half court before vanishing into the tunnel, but it would have been too dull for the truth. Instead, he carried on as usual. He pulled up from 28 feet, held his follow-through high, and made a last three-pointer in the TD Garden with 11 seconds remaining. Oh, hurry up. A fitting conclusion for Paul Pierce. The audience erupted. Even though the game was already won, Pierce saw it as his last option. You made your Celtics debut here tonight, your final regular season game, 18 years ago. What has today been like for you? I've been loving every second of it, man. The fans are amazing and genuinely appreciate what I've been able to achieve for this franchise. I can feel the love and am grateful that I get to visit here one last time. After giving his career some thought, he came up with the ideal summary. Man, 19-year-old guy every day. Guy, I give everything I have. Now it's finally over. You know it has to end one day. So I've been really grateful for what this game has done for me and what I've been able to do in it. You know, this game has changed my life and the lives of my family members. I've been able to travel the world and visit places I never would have imagined visiting. Who would have imagined that a kid from Englewood would end up here, on the big stage, winning a championship, and inspiring many young ball players today? Thus, the truth abruptly exited the courtroom for the final time. However, not all legends have a happy ending. While some players go out with 60 points, others hardly have an opportunity to make an impression. Shaquille O'Neal's last NBA game wasn't just silent, it wasn't even there. No points, no rebounds, no assists, only 3 minutes and 31 seconds. In a 2011 Game 4 semifinal defeat to the Miami Heat. But by that point, Shaq's injuries had taken over. Even though Shaw Diesel's final game ended without a moment to reflect, his career left a legacy that no one could ever forget. The dominant force who once broke backboards and bullied entire franchises was now just a shell of himself. For Michael Jordan, it wasn't a championship moment in his last game. There was no buzzer beater, not even a Bulls jersey has it on it. The date was April 16, 2003. Michael Jordan, 40, playing for the Washington Wizards, a club that would not even qualify for the playoffs. The Wizards suffered a 20-point defeat. Jordan finished with 15 points, but it was still a memorable moment, because the Philadelphia crowd as a whole got up and cheered for the guy who had irrevocably altered the course of a great career as he left the court. Michael, thank you, Michael. Calling your games and seeing you play has been an honor. To give him a final farewell after a career with over 32,000 points, the Sixers purposefully fouled him at the free throw line. The Philadelphia folks did a fantastic job, by which I mean that they helped me. In a way, they were the biggest source of inspiration for me. I didn't think I would return to the game, but it clearly wasn't worth it. We were 25 points behind, so obviously they were playing the younger kids, and we were playing our younger kids. It dawns on me that I won't be wearing a uniform anymore, but that's not a horrible feeling. I've accepted that it's time, and I've noticed that many individuals use the phrase "my first time," "my second time," to refer to this as the last retirement. You don't need to be concerned about my wearing a different uniform. but I can feel it. Without warning, the greatest player of all time left the court this time and went down a tunnel of next up is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He was 42 years old in 1989, having played for 20 seasons, won 6 titles, and made an enduring impression on the sport. Therefore, the entire league made sure his farewell tour was legendary when he declared that the 1988 season would be his final one. Kareem was respected by every city, team, and venue because he was more than just a dominant player. He was basketball royalty. Additionally, he played in his final regular season game on April 22, 1989. The game's purpose was to honor one of the most unstoppable forces to ever touch a basketball, not to score points or put on a farewell show. That's it for Kareem, Eddie. This time, his music is available. Kareem had also given the game his all by the time he left the court. A career that would never be forgotten, a legacy, and a skyhook. Allen Iverson was the epitome of perseverance. He was one of the most captivating players in NBA history because he played with an edge, a fearlessness, and an unwavering determination to win every time he took the court. But as the final chapter of his career arrived, he realized something was lacking. He had lost the spark that had once driven his game addiction. Iverson acknowledged that he was psychologically absent from his most recent games. The Bulls will win 122-90. The last indicator for a player who dedicated his professional life to giving it his all on the court was realizing he could no longer do so, and as a result, the answer had his response. However, David Robinson did it correctly. Not all legends get to ride off into the sunset on top. After leading the San Antonio Spurs for years, Robinson had already established himself as an MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, and one of the most complete big men the game had ever seen. However, in 2003, he realized it was time, and the Spurs made sure his final game would go down in history by announcing it before the season began. In Game 6 of the NBA Finals on June 15, 2003, Robinson took the court for the final time and left as a victor. Robinson won his second NBA championship with San Antonio's 88-77 victory over the New Jersey Nets. All right, David Robinson is with me. How would you describe this moment? In his last game, he scored 13 points and pulled down 17 rebounds, demonstrating that he was still a formidable opponent. The Admiral entered as a victor and departed as a legendary figure. No one performed, as well as Reggie Miller when the game was on the line for almost 20 years. The deep threes, the trash talk, and the heartless moments in the clutch are what Reggie was designed for. Despite his greatness, he was lacking one thing from his illustrious career: an NBA championship. On May 19, 2005, that ambition came to an official end. The Detroit Pistons defeated the Indiana Pacers in Game 6 of the Eastern Conference semifinals, sending Reggie home for the last time. Larry Brown, the head coach of the Pistons, did something elegant as the clock ran out. He called a timeout, not for strategy or a play call, but to give Reggie the moment he deserved. However, Larry is incredibly human, and he knows that if you let play resume, the crowd will return. After the entire game is lined up, Larry signals a timeout to get his squad to the opposing side. He received a standing ovation from the Indiana crowd that appeared to go on forever. We have the greatest fans in the world, in my opinion, and they have been my true supporters for the past 18 years. And as you can see by the fact that nobody is going, it truly demonstrates how amazing the fans are and what a wonderful city this has been. I grew up here, and you know I gave it my all. It's a class organization. Reggie was hailed like a champion. In that moment, even though he never received his ring or the happy ending. No matter how things go, the final game is never just another night, because when a great leaves the court for the last time, it's not just the end of a career, it's the end of an era. Some legends leave with one final masterpiece, while others depart in silence, knowing they've given it their all.